Right, for the last few months I've told you the truth about video games, and mostly your reaction has been this.
Wah, wah. I can't believe he said that. I can't believe he inside my favourite game. I can't believe I can't take a joke.
And so on. But all of that has led to this, the crescendo of it all, the main event, the peak of my bicep. Given that it's been proved by science that all my opinions are factual, here's the real 7 worst PC games of all time. And remember, like I just said, these aren't subjective opinions, this is objectivity straight up your ass. So if you want to argue it, you're utterly wrong. So prepare yourself for a fistful of truth pancakes. Number 7, Half-Life 2. Do you know why people like Half-Life 2? Because Gordon Freeman, the most boring man on the planet, who just so happens to sport a goatee from 1982, is an empty vessel for them to paste their own personality onto. This actively means some people are admitting, yes, my life is empty, please give me what I need. Meaning you've got issues, pal. How can anyone possibly stand up for such a concept and tout that as a good video game? Games are meant to be about providing an escape, yes, but not to the point you wish you were this fake man who looks like a strong wind could make him vanish from existence. Half-Life 2 is the ultimate example of Valve using its influence and power to crush an individual's spirit so they fall into the trap of feeling like they have to rely on the developer to survive. I mean, that's why Steam is so successful. Gabe Newell and his band of cronies have manipulated the audience to ensure they're trapped into a never-ending loop where they earn cash and then hurl it all out into this nerd trap. And Half-Life 2 was a major reason for all of this, so stop whining and crying about how much you love the gravity gun and trigger that thing in your head called a brain to realize the deceit you're suffering from daily. Number 6, World of Warcraft. I've said this time and time again, but World of Warcraft is worse than those jokes your dad tells at a christening. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, here's what I'm talking about. I used to have a job at a calendar factory, but I got the sack after I took a couple of days off. I had a dream I was a muffler last night. Woke up exhausted. What's Beethoven's favourite fruit? Banana. What's Forrest Gump's favourite password? One, Forrest. One. Now first off, if you laughed at any of them, you're a cretin. And second of all, this is to highlight how much of a joke World of Warcraft is. Forget the title, which is such a lie, it makes me want to rage harder than a nerd who's just discovered a new game release is only going to run at 30 frames per second. There is nothing to this game other than staring at the colour green and then pretending you're an orc. Would you buy into that if I walked up to you on the street, gave you a crayon, and then put some sharp teeth in your mouth? Would you run around, start pretending you're an orc? Would you start type talking to people rather than have a proper conversation because Blizzard added voice chat so late no one bothers to use it? I believe the answer to all of these is no. And if you wouldn't do it in your real life, you can't pretend you want to do it here. Meaning World of Warcraft is shite. Number 5, Overwatch. A lot of people look up naked pictures of Overwatch characters and then do the bad thing in that dirty corner. Case closed. Number 4, Portal. I've been kind here on my PCGamesN series when we're talking about Portal. That's mostly because I haven't talked about it at all, but as we all know, Portal, ha! What an absolute joke. Who in their right mind ever woke up one day and thought, I feel like I need more holes in my life? I really hope that's never happened because if it has, well, I'm at a loss for words. The only hole you should be focusing on is that one in your brain that stops you from having proper thoughts. This is what Portal is though, a game about holes and robots. That begs the question why it wasn't called Robot Hole, and therefore actually allowing the consumer to understand the premise before they buy it. But on top of that, it's literally 8 minutes long. And then yeah, they released a sequel for it which actually didn't rip you off. But you already know what I'm gonna say. It's not like Valve changed anything here. It was just robots and holes again. Only this time they threw in mega geek Stephen Merchant just to round this joke off. Plus it advocated the eating of cake, meaning it wanted you to get fat. Terrible. Number 3, Bioshock. Another game that I've given way too many free passes to on this series. Bioshock is a big pile of wank. Straight to the point. It's obvious too, because what are the main enemies in the game called? Big Daddies. Now I don't know about you, but that sounds like a pimp to me, and at no point during Bioshock are you pimping stuff out. So that's strike 1. Strike 2 is the fact I'm meant to believe that mankind built an entire underground city and convinced people to go down there and live. Give me a break. The human race can't even be bothered to wash their hands after taking a whiz. so no way does anyone have the impetus to construct their own version of Atlantis. It's so unbelievable, it makes me want to punch a wall, and this gets worse because of the stupidest twist in gaming history. Just as events are reaching their highest point, it turns out you're just some brainwashed idiot falling at the knees of another jabroni whenever they utter certain words. Actually, as we established, that's exactly what Valve is doing with Steam. So maybe Bioshock was on the right lines after all. Would you kindly spend all your cash on this bunch of nerd junk? And you agree every time. Number 2, GTA 5. GTA 5 is... Grand Theft Auto 5 may as well be... Rockstar's GTA series is without a doubt... Nope, I'm wrong. Grand Theft Auto 5 is actually a damn good video game. And here's why.
Is this really happening?
Lovely stuff. Number 1, Dark Souls. Which brings us to number 1, and what else could it be? The game that people like to play and pretend they like because they think it makes them cool. Dark Souls is a broken video game that actually struggles to run competently, but because it's hard, it's allowed some Poindexters to use it as almost a badge of honor. F right off. Being a challenge is one thing, but a game that purposefully breaks itself at a fundamental level in order to do that is worse than a criminal. Anyone can do that. If I want to take you on at snakes and ladders but rip off every space that has a ladder, we're already fighting an uphill battle. Doesn't make me a genius, I've just broken the foundations. You wouldn't play Boggle without any letters, so why are you playing Dark Souls that barely has a frame rate and has controls that were clearly designed by an infant? We know the answer though. It's because peons have nothing else in their lives and are desperately seeking acceptance, and they find it here. If they can beat Dark Souls, a state of a video game that barely works, they can trick themselves into thinking that their lives matter, even though they quite clearly don't. That's why we can say that Dark Souls is the worst PC game in history. And yes, we've put that to bed. You have been watching the Miller Rapport these past few months, but given the travesty that is From Software's creation, there's nothing else I can teach you because you're too far gone. So come and seek me out when you realize that deadlifting is more important than clicking away, and maybe then we can talk again. But don't ever touch me. As for now, this is goodbye, or in your case, good riddance. Now I know you enjoyed that, so why don't you give a little something back to PCGamesN and subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment on the video, and then go share it on your social network of choice.